If you're planning on making a video to communicate the reopening of your business and wondering where to start, then this tutorial will help you cover the fundamentals of filming using your mobile device. In this tutorial, I'm going to cover the top 5 aspects to consider when filming content using your mobile device and a few wee tips and hints along the way. So we're currently living through the biggest communication shift in over 500 years since the printing press, and video continues to be one of the most effective elements in a digital marketing strategy as we roll through 2020, and with good reason. As a visual species, humans find videos much more engaging, more memorable and more popular than any other type of content out there. Video as a means of storytelling and advertising is no longer just a nice option, it's a necessity. And with a resource capable of capturing high quality literally at our fingertips, there's never been a better time to embrace and incorporate video into your marketing strategy. So before we dive into the how-tos, I want you to consider these stats. Wiseill's research shows that people watch an average of 16 hours of online video per week, and 84% of people say that they've been convinced to buy a product or a service or visit somewhere by watching a brand's video. According to HubSpot, 72% of customers would rather learn about a product or a service by way of video. Facebook tells us that people are 1.5 times more likely to watch video on their mobile phones. And Google tells us that 65% of people like me use YouTube to help them solve a problem or visualize what it is they want to do or where they're going. So, are you convinced? Well, let's do it. Let's dive straight in. You've got a mobile device and you're looking to create some sort of content about your product or your service. So here's where we're going to start. So point number 1 is prepare. Know what it is that you want to communicate first of all. Before you decide to make a video, it's really important to figure out what kind of content you're going to be creating. If you do bus tours, for example, maybe it's a video about what type of sights you'll see in and around Edinburgh. Or maybe you're a gift shop on the Royal Mile, maybe it's a video about focusing on some of the novelty buys if you visit. It's really important because you want to target a certain type of audience to your business. So draw up an idea of what or who is going to feature in this particular video, how long it's going to last and where it's going to be shot, etc. And also think about the distribution of it. Where is it going to go? This will help with the next section that we're going to cover in a second about optimizing your camera settings for the platform or the platforms you're going to be distributing to. What kind of video is it that is going to get the most engagement from your audience? Is it a time lapse or maybe a slow-mo of a product? Maybe it's a talking head testimonial of a quick highlights reel of the experience that you offer. Whatever it might be, prepare it. You'll save a ton of time not having to do reshoots. Point number 2 is your mobile device settings. This is the nitty-gritty of it. You know, most smartphones today using the native camera apps on them are capable of recording HD quality, which is 1080p right up to 4K quality. So here's how to get the best out of your camera app. First of all, the resolution size. In your camera's settings, make sure that you're recording in at least 1080p upwards. This is HD quality and it'll ensure the best viewing for your target audience. Anything less than 1080p is going to be quite difficult for your audience to stay engaged with. We're used to watching well-produced content online, on TV and on demand, so the bar is already set pretty high and we need to ensure the best quality viewing. Next up is using the rear-facing camera lens. Using the rear-facing camera on your phone is better because they are typically better quality and have a better dynamic range. And it helps you as well just to look directly into the lens rather than looking at yourself on the screen. That little tip will help your audience feel that you're speaking directly to them as well. Next up is the orientation. Back when we were preparing, we've considered where the video will be distributed to, and in which case we know now how the orientation of the camera should be. So the main reason for making horizontal videos, you know, this 16:9 aspect ratio, is the horizontal alignment of our eyes. You know, we spend our lives on a horizontal plane, therefore movies and TV and on-demand content are horizontal. The horizontal format is far superior to vertical when showing most things in daily life. However, in the past number of years, there's been a dramatic rise in the consumption of content on our mobile devices versus desktop. Since our smartphones are frequently held and used in vertical format, it's becoming more natural for consumers to watch content in vertical format. So for example, Instagram stories, TikTok, Facebook, etc. So knowing where you're going to distribute will help you to determine which way to be holding your camera. And lastly, just a wee tip for you: if you want to make video that has that really nice buttery smooth slow-mo effect, then make sure you're either using the native slow-mo effect on your phone or upping the frame rate. Frames are how many images per second your camera can capture, so the more frames per second, the slower you can make the footage. This is some footage here that was recorded in 120 frames per second and it's been slowed right down. It looks pretty good, eh? Next up, point number 3 is stabilisation. We need to stabilise our cameras. You can make some really good looking videos when your camera is stabilised, and you can also make some really bad looking typical mobile phone type footage without stabilising your camera. Tripods are a great place to start. Setting up a tripod with a phone clamp will help you in almost any situation. This will really make sure that your footage is stabilised and won't be really jerky to watch. You can also purchase some flexible tripods online. These are called Gorilla Pods. These will help you wrap your camera around poles or even mount it on a really uneven surface. They're great, really handy, and they don't take up a huge amount of real estate in your bag. And if you're out and about, perhaps you've maybe got a tour round about Edinburgh, then investing in a good gimbal is a great way to stabilise your footage. Again, these don't take up a huge amount of room and they really help the viewing experience versus someone trying to walk around handheld. Here's an example of the same type of footage, side by side, one holding it and the other one using a gimbal. Look at the difference, it's huge. Tip number 4 is lighting. So the camera on your phone is always going to try to adjust to the light in the room if it's set to auto. Therefore, if you can help it, fix the lighting in the room or wherever it is that you are as best as you can, and set the exposure on your phone to lock when you've got it just right. The way that you do this is you press and hold on the screen until you see the exposure lock. LED lights are great to fixate onto a product or a subject who's in front of the camera, and there's a number of great options that you can find online that won't break the bank, like ring lights or small LEDs. In this video I'm currently using one LED and one in the background as a hair light, but if you don't have access to LEDs, then just use what natural light you can, or maybe what lights you've got lying around. If you're out and about, try and avoid directly facing into direct sunlight, because you end up having people squinting their eyes and looking a bit like this. And also, lastly, just create some depth between the camera and the subject in the background, and this will help avoid any sort of unflattering shadows and ensure that the emphasis is on the subject or the product. Point number 5 is audio. So as I mentioned earlier, our eyes and our ears are attuned to viewing and listening to well-produced content. Therefore, capturing good audio in your video is equally, or if not more important than the visual aspect. So when using your mobile device, there's a number of ways of ensuring that you can capture good quality audio. So first of all, if you don't have access to any sort of external microphones, then getting into close proximity to the camera is a great place to start. Right now I'm using an external microphone, a boom mic, to capture the audio, but I'm going to switch to the audio in the camera right now. And you can hear the distinct difference between the camera audio and an external microphone. I better switch back. If you have access to earphones or earpods, these are really good because they have got some microphones that are installed into them. These are good because they pick up the audio that's close to the subject and they cut out exterior noise. It's pretty good. Or finally, if your budget can stretch to it, then I would highly recommend one of these. It's called a shotgun mic. This is a Rode Video Mic Pro. You plug it into your phone, mounts on top of your phone, and it picks up the audio that's coming directly in front of the camera. These are really good at isolating any sort of external noise and picking up what the person is speaking about directly in front of the camera. So that's my top 5 points to consider when using your mobile device to capture video content. If you're interested in exploring the capabilities of your smartphone even further, then I would highly recommend 2 particular apps that you can find on the Apple and Android stores. They're called Filmic Pro and Moment Pro. These two particular apps delve a lot deeper into the settings of your phone, where you can change stuff like your exposure levels, your white balance, your depth of field, and they really get the best out of your phone. And in the next video, we're going to be exploring an app that you can use for free that will help you edit together all the footage that you've taken using your mobile device. Hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you've got any questions, please feel free to drop an email and I'll be happy to help out. See you in the next video.